Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aina Elisa binti Zulkarnain. My metric number is 1181103. Today, I would like to talk about our group assignment, which is about Muslim scholar. We choose Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So let me proceed a little bit for the introduction, which is about Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Baghdad city. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal was a Muslim scholar and theologian that were born in Baghdad. According to the latest statistics from 2011, Baghdad is the capital of the Republic of Iraq, the center of the province of Baghdad, with a population of almost 7,260,040 inhabitants, making it the largest city in Iraq and the second largest city in Western Asia after Cairo, and the second largest city in Western Asia after Tehran, the capital of Iran. It is also known the country's commercial, administrative, and educational hub. Baghdad was known for a long time with poets, writers, and artists, the city that gave birth to a lot of them, where the cultural movement began to emerge, making the city as one of the more influential capitals among the Arab capitals of culture and art.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Nohajar binti Masir. My metric number is 1181087. Alright, I will be continue with the biography of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. Firstly, Imam Ahmad full name is Ahmad bin Muhammad bin Hanbal bin Hilal bin Asad al-Shaybani. He was born in Baghdad, the Islamic month of Rabiul Awal, 164 AH, 780 AD. As we know, Baghdad the country of commercial, administrative, and educational hub. Then his father Muhammad was a military leader in the city of Mar Khurasan, and mother's name is Sufia binti Abdul Malik al-Shaybani. His grandfather Hanbal was a governor in the city of Sarah. Then Imam Ahmad also is the one of the first Imam and the founder of the Hanbali school, or we call it Mazhab. Imam Ahmad had plenty of writings, among them Al-Musnad, which is the contents in this book almost 40,000 hadiths, and calling it based on the list of name of the narrator from the generation of the companions. Other than, he also writes Risalah Salat, a small book on common mistake and prayer, and Masail, which is a collection of fatwa issue by Imam Ahmad from the question of his son and his students. His attitudes that love knowledge causing him to like to travel to gain knowledge from famous Islamic school in the region. Then, other than Al-Musnad, Imam Ahmad also write Tafsir Al-Quran, An-Nasa wal-Mansur, Kitab At-Tarikh, and others. And Imam Ahmad died in the year 340 AH, 857 AD, when 77 years old. Next, the birth and lineage of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. Firstly, from childhood, Imam Ahmad was settled with his mother, Sufia binti Abdul Malik al-Shaybani, and was educated him an independent person, highly glorifies and respects his mother. His father died because of compilation war against Byzantine when Imam Ahmad was 3 years old. After his father died, Imam Ahmad inherited 2 houses in Baghdad. In addition, his family had settled in Basra and later in Khurasan, but Imam Ahmad was born and raised in Baghdad. Imam Ahmad's parents moved from Khurasan to Baghdad a month before his birth. Next, the lineage of Imam Ahmad was an Arab and a descendant of Dukhal ibn Shayban. In another narration, Nasab line Imam Ahmad came from the Prophet Ismail and the Prophet Ibrahim. And that is, he is an Arab who participated in the conquest of Iraq and Iran.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Siti Noraini binti Zainuddin. My metric number is 1181122. Okay, next about upbringing of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. Imam Ahmad was born in Baghdad, Iraq on 164 after Hijrah and raised in that city. He also raised as an orphan after his father died. For the rest of his life, he more on the relationship with his mother. His family, especially his uncle, was looking after the family and directed to early studies. The result of his mother's education had the clearest mark on his upbringing and future attitudes. In addition, with the guidance of his mother as well, Imam Ahmad memorized the Quran at an early age, and his mother gave permission for him to travel outside Baghdad to seek knowledge. Imam Ahmad is willing to be in a tight financial position to focus fully on seeking knowledge. Then, although Imam Ahmad had high knowledge, he has a great respect to his teachers and praised him and granted him precedence. Upbringing Imam Ahmad from childhood caused him to be called a famous of Islamic scholar in the field of hadith. Although Imam Ahmad was overwhelmed by the loss of his father since childhood, he persevered and continued his life seek knowledge. Thus, a paradigm of bravery and loyalty that cared little worldly comfort and luxuries was Imam Ahmad. Okay, next, it is about education of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. Imam Ahmad was received his education originally in the city of Baghdad. Imam Ahmad was highly intelligent, humble, wise, and had an earnest desire to worship Allah from a very young age. His favorite topic were hadith and the companion lives. He specialized in both these fields. When he finished his early studies of the Quran and Arabic language, Sirah of the Prophet, tradition of the companion of the Prophet, fiqh and deen, however, he chose the men of hadith and their method at the beginning of his life and devoted himself to it and traveled extensively. At the age of 19, he started going for gain knowledge towards Kufa, Basrah, Mecca, Medina, Yemen, Syria, and to the Byzantine border in Tarsus. The main purpose is to looking for hadith from leading scholars such as Abdul Razak in Yemen and Sufyan bin Uyayna in the Hijaz. He also learned and wrote hadith from more than 218 scholars, including Hisham bin Bashir, a prominent scholar of hadith, Yaqub bin Ibrahim al-Ansari, better known as Abu Yusuf, and Imam Shafi'i. Entering the 30s, Imam Ahmad began to gain appreciation from some leading scholars of that time. One of them is Imam Shafi'i. Goldsmith claims that Imam Ahmad learned from Imam Shafi'i for 3 years. Another opinion, Will Hallock, asserts that the sources of the story are only one side Shafi'i, with the intention of building the perception of Imam Shafi'i's superiority over Imam Ahmad. Then, at the age of 40 years, Imam Ahmad became a mufti. The great encyclopedic of tradition called Musnad is among the work of Imam Ahmad, compiled by his son from his lectures and amplified by supplements comprising over 28,000 traditions. His other work include Kitabus Salah on the discipline of prayer and Kitabus Sunnah on the tradition of the Prophet.
Next, I will talk about Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal contribution in Islamic education or his expertise. In Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal life, there are so much contribution that he leave to the Muslim and the Ummah, which are, firstly, he left the Hanbali sects in the field of Islamic law. The founder of one of the four major Sunni schools of jurisprudence was Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. This Hanbali sect is used by the followers of Sunnah wal Jama'ah. This sect is mostly followed by scholars who believe in Asariya since the 3rd century. Its main principles are adherence to the Quran, Hadith Marfu, fatwas of the companions, and those who are closer to Quran and Hadith. This sect is mostly practiced by the Muslim community in the Arabian Peninsula, especially in the Hijaz, such as Mecca and Medina. Secondly, he left the contribution of knowledge, especially in the field of Hadith. His deep focus on the science of Hadith has resulted in a quality study and given different impacts on his method of jurisprudence. Imam Ahmad is very concerned about the use of Hadith as a reference in giving his fiqh views. His most famous work is Al-Musnad, which collects 40,000 hadiths. Imam Ahmad placed all the hadiths he had received without filtering and explaining the status of hadith. Musnad Ahmad is a leading book compiled in the 3rd century. This book complements the book of hadith that existed before, and it is a book that can meet the needs of Muslims in terms of religion at that time. So for the next point, I will pass to my group members. That's all from me. Thank you.
My name is Siti Nur Alia binti Zamzuri. I will continue the third point. Imam Ahmad left behind some famous books and become a reference until today, which is Imam Ahmad left to the Islamic world his famous book of hadith, which is Al-Musnad. This book contains about 40,000 hadiths from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his companions radiyallahu anhum. The book of Al-Musnad is a monumental proof his expertise in the field of hadith. Imam Ahmad did not want to make other books because he did not want to burden the Ummah and only enough for them with the guidance from Al-Quran and Sunnah. Therefore, the hadith that he recited from the Sheikh or from his teacher of hadith, he carefully selected so that the Ummah would refer to the arguments that comes from the hadith that he narrated. Therefore, he said, I am writing this book so that if the Ummah disagrees about the hadith of the Prophet, they can refer to this book. After that, scholars disagree about the authenticity of the entire contents of this book, such as, according to Abu Musa al-Madini, the entire contents of this book are arguments. Ibn Jawzi, al-Iraqi, and Ibn Kathir said in this book they are authentic, weak, and false, which is Mawdu' hadith. After that, Ibn Taymiyyah al-Zahabi, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, and As-Suyuti said that the hadiths in this book are authentic, weak, and hadiths that approach to Hasan, and none of them in this book are weak hadiths. After that, Abdullah bin Ahmad bin Hanbal, which is his son, gave additional hadiths for this book known as Zawaid Abdullah. Imam Ahmad, after produced this book between years 227 or 228 Hijrah, because Az-Zahabi wrote a narration that his son, Abdullah bin Ahmad bin Hanbal, said that this book was taught between 2 years mentioned above. Imam Ahmad made a long rihlah, which is a journey, to collect pieces of hadith he heard from his sheikh from Baghdad, Syria, Yemen, and Hijaz, and he collected about 700,000 hadiths as narrated by Imam himself, including hadith marfu', mawquf, maqta' and more. It is said that Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal wrote the hadiths in different or similar sheets of paper in separate sections. And lastly is Hanbali school. Historical scholarship regarding Ibn Hanbal and his school has suffered from a lack of sufficient documentation, among other things. There are some opinions regarding Ibn Hanbal that bear closer scrutiny in the light of new documents and recent studies. Too much stress had been laid on the influence on him of the teaching of Ash-Shafi'i, which is the founder of Ash-Shafi'i school, whom Ibn Ahmad bin Hanbal apparently met only once. He had high respect to Ash-Shafi'i, but also for the other great jurists. And it was to this end that he compiled his great Musnad, wherein he registered all the traditions and hadiths considered in his day acceptable as base for the solution of question, along with Quran itself. The fact that the Hanbali school was organized at all was due to the impact of Ibn Ahmad on his time. The other orthodox schools were already prospering in the Baghdad when the Hanbali school sprang up in their midst, drawing its membership from there. The lateness of the hour accounts for the relatively small membership attained by the Hanbali school compared with the other school or the older schools. It is, however, not by the number of its members that the importance of the school and its originator should be judged, but rather by their impact on the development of Islamic religious history. It means that the number of members in this school is not important, but we should see about the development of Islamic religious in this school. That is very important. And lastly, the school also served as a spearhead of traditionalist ideology in its battle against nationalism in the Middle Age. One of the Hanbali's great followers, Ibn Taymiyyah, was claimed by both the Wahhabiyah, a reform movement founded in the mid-18th century, and the modern Salafiyah movement, which arose in Egypt. He supported the continuing dominance of Islamic law, but with new interpretation to suit the evolving needs of the society. Ibn Hanbal himself is one of the fathers of Islam, whose names have been continually centuries ago. And And for the conclusion, in Islam, people are encouraged to know who our Muslim scholars, and we can learn about them like Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. And after we learning and making a research about Imam Ahmad, we can know about his life history, his personal nature, his education, and his sacrifice in defending Al-Quran and Hadith. We also can identify his contribution to Islamic civilization that remain until now. And for our opinion, all his properties and his personal nature are necessary to ensure that all of us succeed in the future and can be applied in our single day and in our life for teenagers until now. That's all from us. Thank you.